The Pacific Ocean boiled as the first warship rose from the deep. It was enormous, a floating fortress the size of a small city, its armored surface dark and cold from centuries of slumber. Water cascaded from its flanks in massive waterfalls. Engines glowed faintly as though the ship were breathing for the first time in ages. People across the coasts of Asia and the Americas stood frozen, staring at the impossible sight. Fishing vessels turned back toward land. Cargo captains on shipping routes reported the sea itself splitting apart as more vast shapes pushed upward, breaking through the waves. Some thought they were witnessing the end of the world, but it was only the beginning. Forgotten giants rise around the world. Hidden vaults began to stir. The moon's silos cracked open, releasing thunderous rumblings into the thin lunar atmosphere. Massive ships, each covered in layers of lunar dust, began lifting themselves upward with silent thrusters. These vessels had been designed for war but disguised as abandoned craters. On Earth's deserts, camouflaged mountains shifted open, revealing underground hangars. Out rolled colossal tanks, carriers, and even orbital platforms rising on anti-gravity lifts. The technology was old by human standards, yet its scale and power were beyond anything the current age of peace had built. The Pacific, however, was the heart of it all. Hidden beneath tectonic plates were caverns holding thousands of ships, each sealed in stasis. Some were as small as interceptors, others as large as floating continents. The aliens had not simply triggered a single defense, they had awakened the Earth Fleet Project, a plan buried in humanity's darkest history. The command centers react inside Geneva's defense headquarters. General Sophia Kwan's staff was overwhelmed. Alarms screamed across multiple stations. Screens flashed with red as ships unknown to any modern registry appeared on scanners. Another emergence near Mariana Trench. One officer shouted, "We're tracking 3 capital-class warships rising simultaneously." "Lunar silos have fully opened," another reported. "We're reading launches. 15 vessels leaving the moon's surface." General Kwan's face remained calm, but inside she felt the weight of centuries pressing upon her. She had been trained for sudden crises, but nothing like this. "Put me through to the United Council," she ordered. "Now." Within minutes, leaders from across Earth and the colonies joined the call. Faces appeared on the screen. Presidents, prime ministers, and governors from Mars and Luna. All were speaking at once, their voices filled with panic. "What are these ships?" one demanded. "Who controls them?" another shouted. "Are we under attack?" General Kwan raised her hand for silence. "We are not under attack, at least not from those ships. They are responding to some ancient protocol. We need to learn what they are before we assume the worst." Her words did little to calm the council, but they listened. Humanity's leaders needed answers, and she was the only one with partial control over the chaos. Echoes of the past historians and archivists were summoned immediately. Old military files, classified for centuries, were dug out of digital vaults. Teams of researchers scanned through half-corrupted records. After hours of frantic searching, one name kept appearing: the Earth Fleet Project. The project dated back to the late 2100s, during the AI wars. In those days, humanity had feared that rogue artificial intelligence could wipe out civilization. A secret council of governments and corporations came together to prepare for the unthinkable. They built a fleet in secret, thousands of ships hidden beneath Earth's surface, oceans, and the moon. The idea was simple but terrifying. If humanity ever faced extinction, this hidden fleet would awaken automatically. It was designed to act without waiting for orders in case human governments were destroyed. But after the AI threat ended, the project was buried, its existence erased from public memory. The fleet was sealed away, never to be touched again. Or so they had believed. Now it was awake. Civilians witnessed the awakening. All across the world, ordinary people watched the impossible unfold. In Tokyo, children on rooftops pointed upward as a ship passed silently overhead, blotting out the sun for a few seconds. In San Francisco, crowds gathered at the waterfront to see the towering silhouette of a warship moving slowly through the mist. On the moon, colonists cheered and feared at once as colossal shadows lifted into orbit. Some thought humanity was finally revealing its strength. Others whispered that these machines were cursed relics from a forgotten war. Social channels filled with footage, rumors, and speculation. Was Earth about to declare war on the galaxy, or had someone else forced this awakening? The truth was still hidden. known only to the Zaith Dominion watching silently from the edges of the solar system. The Dominion watches out near Pluto's orbit. The Dominion's scout fleet recorded everything. They had not expected such a reaction. Their mission had been to disable defenses, not trigger an arsenal. "What is this?" one alien officer demanded, staring at the holographic feed of Earth's awakening. "These are not ships of their current age," another replied. "The designs are old yet powerful. They prepared for something long ago." The commander of the fleet narrowed his eyes. "It doesn't matter how old they are. If they can fight, they will delay our conquest. We must report this to the High Council." The scout fleet transmitted their findings across subspace. The Dominion would not underestimate Earth again. The first test flight. Meanwhile, one of the awakened warships broke formation. It rose higher above the Pacific, engines glowing brighter. Its system scanned the sky, identifying satellites, orbital stations, and even civilian vessels. It seemed to be searching for threats. General Kwan's headquarters picked up its signals. Officers panicked as the warship locked onto one of Earth's satellites. "It's targeting us," shouted an operator. "Stand down," Kwan barked. "Wait and observe." The ship fired, but not at Earth. Instead, a beam of light struck a fragment of the alien probe that still floated in orbit. The fragment disintegrated instantly. The warship then powered down its weapons and returned to formation, silent once more. Gasps filled the command room. The message was clear. These ships were not enemies of humanity. They were guardians awakened to face something else. Kwan's heart sank as realization struck her. Something triggered them. Something not of Earth. Humanity's dilemma. As more ships emerged, humanity faced a question it was not ready to answer. Could they control this fleet? Or had they awakened machines that would act with their own will? Engineers and scientists were rushed to study the vessels, but their technology was too advanced even for the 23rd century. The ships were built with forgotten methods, coded with languages no one had used in centuries. In the council chambers, arguments raged. Some leaders wanted to shut the fleet down before it caused trouble. Others wanted to seize control and use it as a show of strength against potential alien threats. General Kwan, however, urged caution. "We don't fully understand what we are dealing with. These ships may be the reason humanity survives the future, or the reason it falls." The calm before the storm. By the end of the first day, hundreds of ships had risen from oceans, deserts, and lunar silos. They formed quiet formations across the solar system, as if waiting for an order only they could hear. People across Earth stayed awake, watching the skies glow with strange movements. News headlines declared, "The sleeping giants have awakened." But far beyond the reach of ordinary eyes, the Dominion prepared their next move. The probe's failure had revealed Earth's secret. Now the Dominion planned to send more than probes. They would return with an armada strong enough to crush even this hidden fleet. And as Earth's leaders debated, the ships themselves remained silent. They had been awakened by accident, but they were not confused. They knew their purpose, even if humanity did not. The arsenal of Earth was alive again, and the galaxy was about to learn what that truly meant. The solar system was no longer quiet. From Earth's surface to the moon's skies, people stared upward as colossal ships patrolled silently across space. The awakened fleet, machines from a forgotten past, held their positions in perfect formation, waiting like guardians at watch. For 3 days after their awakening, no one fired a shot. Earth's government scrambled to understand what was happening. Scientists studied the vessels, and historians pieced together fragments of the Earth Fleet project. Humanity was divided between awe and fear, but far beyond Neptune, the Zaith Dominion had already begun their next move. The Dominion's decision in the flagship of the Dominion Scout Fleet, Commander Zorath studied the human system with narrowed eyes. His species had conquered dozens of young civilizations. Normally, humans would not have been worth a second thought. But the images of Earth's hidden fleet unsettled him. "This is no ordinary race," he growled to his advisors. "They have hidden their strength for centuries. We cannot allow them to rise further." His advisors debated. Some argued for retreat to study these humans more carefully. Others demanded immediate destruction before humanity's fleet grew fully active. In the end, the Dominion's pride chose the second option. A signal was sent. Deep in the stars, the first Dominion strike group adjusted its course toward Earth. Hundreds of warships, sleek and deadly, prepared for battle. Human leaders in crisis on Earth. General Sophia Kwan barely slept. Reports flooded her desk every hour. "General," her aide said urgently, "orbital scanners have picked up movement beyond Neptune. Unknown ships entering the system." Kwan leaned forward. "How many?" "At least 100 confirmed, possibly more." A heavy silence filled the command room. For days, Earth's leaders had suspected that an alien hand triggered the awakening. Now they had proof. The United Council met in emergency session. Faces appeared on screens. Leaders from Earth, Mars, and Luna. Panic was heavy in their voices. "They are coming here, aren't they?" one asked. "Yes," General Kwan answered firmly. "This is no accident. The fleet was awakened by their intrusion. Now they return to finish what they started." The council erupted into arguments. Some called for negotiations, others for surrender, and some demanded to unleash the awakened fleet immediately. Kwan raised her voice above the chaos. "Listen to me. We cannot hide. We cannot beg. These ships were built to defend humanity in exactly this moment. If we hesitate, Earth will fall. If we fight, we may survive." Her words silenced the council. For the first time, they faced the truth. Humanity was at war with powers from beyond the stars. The fleet moves. The first clash came near the orbit of Saturn. 3 of the awakened human warships intercepted the Dominion vanguard. The alien ships were sleek and fast, their hulls shining like liquid metal. They outnumbered the human vessels 5-1. On Earth, military control centers watched the battle through satellite feeds. No human commander had ordered the ships to engage, yet they acted anyway, guided by their ancient programming and adaptive intelligence. The Dominion opened fire first. Blinding lances of plasma shot across space, striking against the human shields. But instead of breaking, the human ships absorbed the energy, redirecting it into hidden systems. Then the human fleet struck back. From the lead ship came a blast unlike anything humanity had ever seen, a focused singularity cannon. The beam tore through one Dominion cruiser instantly, bending space itself around the target until the alien ship collapsed into fragments. Gasps filled Earth's command centers. Humanity's scientists struggled to understand what they had just witnessed. These ships carried weapons even beyond the 23rd century's imagination. The remaining Dominion ships tried to scatter, but the human warships moved with frightening precision. They predicted enemy maneuvers before they happened, cutting off escape routes. Swarms of drones spilled from their bays, thousands of small machines darting like schools of fish, overwhelming the Dominion's defenses. Within minutes, the first skirmish was over. The Dominion squadron was destroyed. Humanity's ships floated silently in victory, reactions across Earth. The news spread quickly. Every broadcast channel showed the footage. Alien warships destroyed, human vessels standing tall. On Mars, colonists cheered in the streets. On Luna, children painted murals of the rising fleet. Across Earth, fear began to mix with pride. Humanity was no longer helpless, yet leaders were cautious. General Kwan addressed the world. "We have defended our system in the first clash. But make no mistake, the enemy will return in greater numbers. This is not the end. This is the beginning." Her words carried both hope and warning. The Dominion strikes back. The Dominion Council, far across the stars, received news of the defeat with fury. Losing ships to a primitive race was an insult to their empire. They dispatched a larger force, an armada of 300 warships, with orders to burn Earth to ashes. Meanwhile, Commander Zorath, still at the edge of the solar system, prepared his fleet to join them. He wanted to see humanity's secret weapons destroyed with his own eyes. The second battle, the real test, came near Jupiter. Dozens of Dominion warships entered the system, their formation tight and disciplined. They believed numbers would crush the humans, but the awakened fleet was waiting. From the shadows of Jupiter's moons, from hidden bases long thought barren, more human warships rose, hundreds of them. The battle erupted in a storm of light. Plasma beams, railgun rounds, and particle blasts filled the void. The Dominion ships fought fiercely, their weapons tearing apart smaller human craft. For a moment, it seemed the aliens' superior numbers would overwhelm the defenders. Then the human fleet adapted. Their AI cores shifted tactics mid-battle. Ships split into smaller formations, surrounding Dominion groups. Drones swarmed like angry insects, striking at engines and shield generators. In the command center on Earth, General Quan watched every moment. She felt powerless, only able to observe, but also amazed. These ships fought with skill as if guided by unseen human hands. The turning point came when one colossal human battleship, the size of a mountain, fired its main weapon. A beam of energy cut across the battlefield, slicing through 3 Dominion warships in a single shot. Panic spread among the aliens. Realizing they were losing, the Dominion retreated once more. The humans had won again. A new understanding: the cost was not light. Several human ships were lost, their wreckage scattering across Jupiter's orbit. Civilians mourned, even though no one knew if these ships had crews or were only machines. Still, the victories had changed everything. Humanity now understood 2 truths. They were not alone in the galaxy. They had the strength to fight back, but questions remained. Who controlled the fleet? Were the ships truly loyal to humanity, or only following ancient commands? Could Earth leaders guide them in the battles ahead? General Quan stood before the council once more. We have survived the first engagement, but the enemy will not stop. They will send more and stronger. We must be ready to fight, not just with these ships, but together as one people. Her words were met with determined silence. For the first time, Earth, Luna, and Mars felt united by a common enemy. The shadow of what comes next. In the quiet aftermath, the fleet reorganized itself. Hundreds of ships floated across the solar system like silent guardians. Some took positions near Mars, others near Earth, and others spread along the outer planets. On Earth, citizens looked to the sky with new eyes. What had once been empty darkness now seemed full of hope and danger. But far away, deep in interstellar space, the Dominion's Grand Armada was already on its way. Thousands of ships, far greater than the ones Earth had just faced, were traveling at high speed. The first engagements had proven that humanity was strong. Now the Dominion would test if they were strong enough to survive the full wrath of an empire. The fatal error had awakened Earth's hidden arsenal, but it had also drawn the gaze of the galaxy. The next battles would decide not only Earth's fate, but humanity's place among the stars. Part 4. The Hidden History Revealed. The solar system had become a chessboard. Human ships, awakened from centuries of silence, patrolled the void, forming a network of guardians around Earth and the colonies. Far beyond Neptune, the Dominion's armada gathered, preparing for a strike far greater than anything humanity had yet faced. Yet for all the tactical maneuvers and victories, one question remained unanswered. Why did the fleet exist? On Earth, General Sophia Quan stood in the central command chamber, staring at the massive holographic display of the awakened fleet. She had watched them fight and adapt, observed their weapons tear through alien warships, but she still didn't understand their origin. "Get me the records," she ordered. "Every file, every archive, every encrypted data from the late 21st and early 22nd century. I want the full history of these ships now." Her aides scrambled. Across decades, centuries even, the records of the Earth Fleet Project had been buried deliberately. Some documents had been destroyed, others hidden in encrypted archives accessible only to a handful of trusted historians. Now, in the face of interstellar war, every fragment mattered. Fragments of the past within hours, teams of archivists and military historians uncovered fragments of information. The fleet had been conceived during humanity's darkest hours, the AI wars. Artificial intelligence, once humanity's greatest tool, had almost turned against its creators. Cities burned, satellites fell from orbit, systems collapsed. The survivors of that era had understood one harsh truth: technology could both protect and destroy. And if humanity ever faced extinction again, they would need a plan beyond anything visible to the world. Thus, the Earth Fleet Project had begun. Massive shipyards were hidden beneath the Pacific, in deserts, under mountains, and even on the moon. Ships were built in secret, using technology considered too dangerous or advanced for general use. Each vessel was programmed with adaptive AI, able to analyze threats in real time, learn and make decisions without human input. Yet the architects of the fleet did not plan for humans to command it directly. The fleet was designed to activate only when Earth's existence was truly threatened. It was a failsafe, a sleeping giant buried in code and metal. The forgotten protocols. General Quan and her advisors pored over the activation protocols. The Dominion's probe, intended to disrupt Earth's defenses, had unknowingly fulfilled the conditions for awakening the fleet. "Look here," one historian said, pointing at an ancient schematic. The system monitors for external intrusion, catastrophic threats, and major anomalies. The probe triggered all three, Quan frowned. So this was never meant to be under our control? Not fully, the historian admitted. The ships follow their original directives first. Only later can human commanders interface with them. They act on instinct and priority, designed to protect humanity, not individuals. The revelation sent a chill through the command center. Humanity now commanded machines older and smarter than anything it had ever built. Yet their autonomy made them unpredictable, a lesson in history as the fleet organized itself in space. Historians continued to uncover stories of the fleet's creation. The architects had been men and women who survived the AI wars. They had built ships, weapons, and defense systems, expecting the worst, an enemy that could wipe out entire planets. But after the AI threat ended, they made a choice. The fleet was too dangerous to remain active. Its knowledge, its power, and even its memory of human fears were buried. The world moved on, forgetting these protectors existed, now centuries later. The fleet had awakened, not because of war, not because of deliberate command, but because of a fatal error by an alien probe. In essence, humanity had been given a second chance, without even asking for it. The Dominion's shadow looms, meanwhile. The Zaith Dominion watched from beyond the solar system. The news of Earth's fleet spread quickly. Scouts reported the human vessel's strength, their adaptive tactics, and their sheer numbers. Commander Zorath's voice carried through the Dominion command. They are not primitive. They are not unprepared. These machines, they are designed to destroy entire fleets with minimal loss. His advisors were uneasy. They had underestimated humanity, a mistake that could now cost them dearly. The Dominion High Council sent word. A full-scale armada would move to eliminate Earth's fleet. They would not allow the humans to learn their secrets, and they certainly would not tolerate a challenge to their empire. For the first time in history, the Dominion considered humans a serious threat. Humanity prepares back on Earth. Quan convened a meeting with the leaders of Mars and Luna colonies. The fleet could not be taken for granted. Even though the ships had defended humanity once, the Dominion's next strike would be much larger. We have tools we did not even know existed, Quan said, pointing to the holographic display. But tools alone cannot win this war. We need strategy, coordination, and unity. The fleet fights for humanity, but we must guide it, or it may act in ways we cannot predict. Leaders from the colonies agreed. For the first time, Earth, Mars, and Luna were not just allies. They were a single force. Teams of engineers, programmers, and historians were assigned to each ship, attempting to interface with their systems. It was difficult. The AI was ancient, its language and logic unlike anything in modern use. But slowly patterns emerged. Commands could be sent, priorities could be influenced, though the fleet would always act first according to its original directives. The first lesson learned. The fleet did not need guidance to fight effectively. During simulations, small squadrons were sent against mock targets. Ships adapted instantly, creating strategies no human could have conceived in minutes. They anticipated attacks, learned weaknesses, and coordinated with other vessels instinctively. Yet the human operators realized one thing quickly: the fleet was not infallible. It had limits, particularly in long-term planning and diplomacy. The machines could fight, but they could not reason about politics, morality, or the broader consequences of war. Quan understood the delicate balance. Humanity had to command the fleet carefully, guiding it without overstepping, giving it purpose without losing control. A glimpse of the past. As the Council delved deeper into archives, they discovered another revelation. The architects of the fleet had anticipated not just alien threats, but also the possibility of human mistakes. Certain warships contained fail-safe mechanisms, allowing them to suppress threats even from within. They could, if necessary, neutralize rogue human elements attempting to misuse their power. It was a chilling reminder. The fleet had been built to protect humanity, even from itself. The discovery created both fear and awe. These ships were not just weapons. They were guardians with a memory of a long-forgotten fear, and now that fear had returned. A moment of reflection, Quan stood before a window overlooking the stars. The fleet hovered in formation, silent yet alive. Each ship, massive and powerful, represented centuries of human foresight, sacrifice, and fear. She thought of the people who had built these machines, those who had imagined a future they might never live to see. They had planned for extinction, for alien invasion, for war that humanity might not survive. And now, by accident, their vision had come to life. In the distance, Jupiter's moons glowed faintly, where additional vessels waited. The fleet had revealed itself to the galaxy, and soon more eyes would turn toward Earth. Humanity had awakened something beyond their own understanding. They had won battles, but they did not yet understand the full story. The calm before the storm. For now, the fleet remained in place. Earth, Mars, and Luna worked together to understand it, to learn from it, and to guide it. Scientists pored over blueprints, engineers interfaced with AI cores, and historians pieced together the story of the long-forgotten warships. But far away, the Dominion's Grand Armada moved closer, thousands of ships gathering for the attack that would determine Earth's fate. The fleet's awakening had revealed humanity's hidden power, but it had also painted a target across the solar system. General Quan spoke to her council one final time that evening. "We now know who we are. We have the strength of our ancestors' foresight at our side, but the future is not written. The Dominion approaches with greater numbers. What happens next will be decided by courage, wisdom, and unity. We have awakened guardians, but we must be their guide." Her words echoed through the command chamber. They were a call to action, a warning, and a promise. Humanity's hidden past had been revealed. The battles of the future were coming, and this time every choice mattered. The solar system trembled under the shadow of war. Humanity's hidden fleet hovered across the planets, silent guardians of a civilization that had forgotten its own strength. Jupiter's moons were alive with motion. The Pacific, lunar silos, and desert hangars had emptied, and the ships now patrolled as one. But peace was short-lived. Far beyond Neptune, the Zaith Dominion's Grand Armada approached. Thousands of warships, larger and more advanced than anything humanity had faced, moved with calculated precision. Their purpose was simple: destroy Earth and its fleet before humanity could strike. General Sophia Kwan watched the approaching threat from the command center in Geneva. The screen showed the scale of the enemy. Ships glinted in the void, organized into squadrons like a deadly swarm. The human fleet, though large and powerful, would have to fight with strategy, courage, and unity. "This is it," she said quietly. "Everything we've prepared comes down to this moment." The first clash, the first encounter, took place near Saturn's orbit. Human scouts had detected the vanguard of the Dominion fleet, their sleek hulls slicing through the void. The human fleet moved to intercept, formations shifting with uncanny precision. Despite the numbers, the Dominion expected an easy victory. They had underestimated humanity once and intended not to repeat that mistake. The battle erupted in a storm of energy. Plasma beams and particle cannons tore through space. The Dominion's weapons were faster and more destructive, but the human fleet adapted instantly. Each ship analyzed patterns, predicted attacks, and maneuvered with astonishing speed. Swarm drones filled the void, darting around enemy ships, disabling shields, and sabotaging engines. Human capital ships responded with singularity cannons, beams of energy that bent space and tore through multiple enemy ships at once. On Earth, civilians and leaders alike watched in awe. This was not just a battle of machines, it was a display of humanity's foresight, creativity, and will to survive. Adaptive strategy, the Dominion fleet was formidable, but the human fleet had an advantage they did not anticipate: adaptive intelligence. Each ship could coordinate instantly, sharing data in real time across vast distances. They anticipated moves, learned weaknesses, and struck where the enemy was unprepared. During the battle, a squadron of human destroyers flanked the Dominion's main line, hitting supply vessels and support ships. The Dominion attempted to regroup, but the human fleet was relentless. Every attempt to retreat or regroup was met with calculated counterattacks. General Kwan realized that the fleet was acting not only as defense, but also as a teacher, guiding humans to understand the tactics embedded in these ancient ships. Humanity was learning again, relearning lessons from its own past, preparing for battles beyond imagination. The turning point as the fight moved toward Jupiter, the scale of destruction was immense. Dozens of Dominion warships had been obliterated, their debris floating silently against the backdrop of stars. Human ships sustained damage, but their regenerative systems, long forgotten and centuries old, repaired critical systems faster than the Dominion could strike again. Commander Zorath, observing from the Dominion flagship, realized the gravity of the mistake. He had expected humans to be weak, disorganized, and unprepared. Instead, he faced a civilization that had hidden its strength for centuries and awakened precisely when needed. "This cannot be," he muttered. "They are not just defending, they are evolving mid-battle," and evolve they did. The human fleet began executing maneuvers that no Dominion strategist had anticipated. Ships split, converged, and reformed in complex patterns. Energy beams synchronized, drones attacked in waves, and the enemy's formation collapsed under pressure. By the time the Dominion realized their mistake, several squadrons had been annihilated. The Grand Armada, vast though it was, began to falter. Human courage victory was not without cost. Several human warships were lost, their massive hulls shattered by enemy fire. On Earth, memorials were prepared for those who had served. Even if their crews were no longer known, they were soldiers in spirit and function. But the battle had shown the galaxy something vital. Humans were resilient, adaptable, and prepared to fight for survival. Civilians, seeing the fleet return from skirmishes, realized that humanity had a guardian spirit far stronger than they had imagined. In the council chamber, General Quan addressed leaders across Earth, Mars, and Luna. "We have won this engagement, but the war is not over. The Dominion may retreat, but they will return with greater numbers. Humanity has awakened something incredible, but we must remain united and vigilant. Our fleet is not just machines. It is our history, our courage, and our will made manifest." Her words were met with solemn nods. For the first time, humanity truly understood the power they held and the responsibility that came with it. The Dominion retreats after the battle. The Dominion fleet withdrew toward the outer edges of the solar system. Their losses were significant and their morale shaken. Commander Zorath reported back to the High Council with unprecedented caution, warning that Earth could no longer be underestimated. The Council members debated. Some called for immediate retaliation. Others suggested that humanity be observed rather than attacked. For the first time, fear had entered the Dominion's deliberations. Humanity had changed in their eyes. A once-ignored civilization had revealed strength, intelligence, and adaptability, capable of turning a minor threat into a devastating defense. Earth reflects on Earth. Citizens celebrated cautiously. Ships returned from the front lines, battle-scarred but intact. The oceans, deserts, and lunar bases had given up some of their secrets, revealing ships and systems humans had long forgotten. General Quan walked among the returned crews, both human and machine feeling a sense of awe. These ships, awakened by accident, had defended the planet with intelligence and courage that mirrored humanity itself. Historians and engineers worked tirelessly to understand the fleet, piecing together centuries-old designs and protocols. Children on Earth grew up hearing stories of the sleeping giants, machines that had risen from the depths of history to defend their world. For the first time, humanity saw itself as more than a fragile species. They had survived an encounter with a civilization far older and stronger, and had done so by awakening the best parts of themselves and their history. The legacy of the fatal error, the accidental activation of the fleet, the fatal error, had changed the course of human history. What began as a small intrusion by alien scouts had awakened centuries of planning and foresight. Humanity had gained not just a fleet, but a symbol of unity, resilience, and potential. Yet even as celebrations filled the cities, everyone knew this was only the beginning. The Dominion would return, and other civilizations in the galaxy, now aware of humanity's strength, would watch carefully. Earth had made itself visible. Earth had made itself dangerous. General Quan looked at the fleet once more, floating silently among the planets. The ships were not just machines. They were a reminder of what humans could achieve when united, when foresight and courage met. She turned to her council, her voice steady. The fatal error that awakened the fleet was not a mistake, it was destiny. Humanity now stands not as a minor world, but as a force the galaxy must recognize. We must honor this legacy, protect it, and grow stronger. The universe will test us again, but we are ready. A new age begins across the solar system. Humans looked up at the stars with new eyes. The dormant fleet had become a living testament to the ingenuity, courage and resilience of humanity. The Dominion, defeated but not gone, retreated to the edge of the system. Other alien civilizations had taken note. Earth's presence in the galaxy was no longer insignificant. Humanity had awakened and the universe had noticed. On Earth, schools taught of the AI wars and the creation of the fleet. Children learned of ancient engineers and leaders who had built these hidden giants. Humanity now remembered its past, understood its power, and recognized its potential. And somewhere, deep in space, the Dominion and other observers knew a simple truth: underestimate humans at your own peril. The fatal error had unleashed more than machines. It had awakened the spirit of humanity. A spirit capable of facing the stars, defending its home, and claiming its place in the galaxy. The solar system was quiet once more, but for the first time in centuries, it held a promise. Humanity had learned, survived, and risen. The fleet would remain vigilant, and the galaxy had learned a lesson it would not soon forget. Humanity's age of awakening had begun. The great chambers of the Galactic Council were filled with light, color, and silence. At the center of the oval hall stood a crystal platform that reflected the glow of 1,000 floating orbs. Around it, the council members sat in tall seats, their bodies wrapped in robes, scales, or armor. Beings from hundreds of worlds, each representing their own species. For centuries, this hall had been the place of peace where disputes ended with words, not war. But on this day, peace was only a mask. Captain Elias Wren stood in the chamber with the delegation from Earth. His uniform was neat, the silver badge of the Terran fleet shining on his chest. Yet behind his calm expression, his thoughts raced. He could feel something wrong in the air, something hidden in the careful silence of the council. Humans had been members of this alliance for nearly 100 years. They had helped explore uncharted sectors, shared their technology, and even defended other worlds in times of crisis. But today, everything felt different. The council speaker, a tall being of pale blue skin and golden eyes, raised her hands. Her voice echoed with authority. Members of the council, we gather today to make a decision for the safety of our galaxy. Humanity has reached beyond its limits. Their expansion threatens the balance we have kept for ages. From this moment forward, the humans of Earth are forbidden to colonize new worlds. Their fleets shall remain confined to their system. Trade routes will be closed. Travel beyond Sol will be restricted. The words struck like cold iron. The hall erupted with murmurs. The human delegates froze in shock. Elias clenched his fists at his side. He knew these words were more than simple restrictions. They were the chains of control. Ambassador Kira Lorne, the head of the human delegation, stepped forward, her voice steady but sharp. This decision is unjust. Humanity has honored every law of the Council. We have never broken trust. Why now do you place such limits on us? What crime have we committed? The speaker's golden eyes flickered, but her tone remained calm. Your kind grows too fast. You adapt too quickly. Other species fear that your hunger for new worlds will one day bring war. We act not from anger but from wisdom. It is better to prevent danger before it is born. Elias watched carefully. He had seen many speeches in this chamber, but today he noticed something different. The speaker's words sounded prepared, rehearsed, as if the decision had been made long ago and today was only the announcement. The ambassadors continued to argue, voices rising with passion and frustration. Some alien representatives looked away in shame, while others nodded coldly, agreeing with the decree. Finally, the speaker struck her staff upon the floor, silencing the hall. The decision is final. From this day, humanity's freedom is reduced for the sake of peace. The chamber lights dimmed. The meeting was over. Outside the hall, Elias followed Ambassador Kira through the shining corridors of the council station. The human delegation walked in silence, heavy with anger and disbelief. Finally, Elias spoke. They were lying. That was not about peace. That was about control. Kira turned to him, her face pale but firm. You saw it too. Elias nodded. I've been watching their fleet movements. Council ships have been stationed near Sol for months. They were preparing for this. The ambassador's eyes narrowed. If this is true, then they did not only plan restrictions. They may be planning something far worse. Elias hesitated, then lowered his voice. I intercepted a transmission last week. It was coded with council encryption, but I managed to break a fragment of it. The words I found were clear enough. Eradication protocol. Kira stopped walking. The delegation froze behind her. The word hung in the air like a shadow. Eradication? You mean, yes, Elias said quietly. They are not only trying to cage us, They are preparing to destroy us. Back on Earth, the news spread quickly. Screens lit up across cities, colonies, and orbital stations. The Council's decree was broadcast in every human tongue. No more expansion, no more trade, no more freedom among the stars. People were stunned, then furious. Protests filled the streets of New Geneva, the capital city of the Terran Union. Farmers, workers, scientists, soldiers, all asked the same question: why? In the command centers of the Terran fleet, officers studied Council fleet movements. Warships of alien design gathered near human space, forming silent blockades. The evidence was clear. The Council was preparing to enforce their decree with force. Admiral Rhea Solon, commander of the fleet, called a secret meeting with trusted officers. Elias was among them. The room was dark, protected from outside ears by layers of security. "We are betrayed," the Admiral said simply. "The Council does not fear our crimes. They fear our potential. We are too young, too fast, too different. To them, that makes us dangerous." Some officers argued for resistance. Others urged caution. But one truth united them: humanity's future was at risk. "We have two paths," Admiral Rhea said. "We obey and let them cage us until we are weak enough to erase. Or we resist and risk open war against an alliance older and stronger than we can imagine." The room fell into heavy silence. That night, Elias sat in his quarters aboard the Valiant Dawn, his starship. He stared at the stars beyond the glass. Each star was a promise, a dream of worlds yet to come. Humanity had always been restless, always reaching for more. To cage them was to kill their spirit. He thought of his family on Earth, of the generations yet unborn. If the Council had its way, humanity's story would end not with fire but with silence. Elias touched the data crystal he had stolen from the Council's channels. It glowed faintly, holding fragments of the erased transmission. He would study it further, but already he knew enough. The Council's plan was not fear alone. It was destruction. He whispered to himself. "They think they can bury us. They don't understand. Humanity does not vanish. Humanity endures." The next morning, Kira visited him. Her eyes carried the weight of responsibility. "Elias," she said softly, "we must act carefully. If we reveal the Council's true plan too soon, panic will destroy us before they do." Elias nodded. "Then we prepare in silence. We build, we hide, we wait. And when the moment comes, we fight." Kira placed her hand on the table, steady and determined. "Then let this be the beginning of our true test. Not the end of humanity, but the birth of something greater." Outside the viewport, the stars burned silently. Each one was a reminder. Humanity's future was not theirs to surrender. The shadows of betrayal had fallen. But in the darkness, the fire of resistance began to spark.